One day, I received a strange package. The parcel only had my address name written on it, but not the name of the person who sent it. I thought it must be one of my friends who wanted to surprise me, because the next day was my birthday. And the sender also. The sender also wrote the words "Happy Birthday" to me on the outside of the package. When I opened the package, I was surprised to see that inside was a small potted plant, the kind of green, hardy, climbing vine that we often see growing as long as there is water. This potted plant, after a tight package and a long journey, there are still not dead, but the leaves are slightly withered because the lack of water nourishment and yellowish white. I put the unimpressive pot on the balcony, watered it, and went back to my room to call my friends. However, all my friends told me what they had given me as gifts: chocolates, flowers, greeting cards, beautifully crafted artwork, Winnie the Pooh, Barbie dolls, etc. All the things that girls love in their hearts, but I couldn't find out who had given me the potted flower. When I called, I suddenly felt a chill in my heart, the feeling as if I felt a pair of eyes are secretly spying on me. I put down the phone and looked around. I was the only one in the house, maybe nerve-wracking it. I explained my mental discomfort. However, this feeling of being secretly watched is getting stronger and stronger. I finally fidgeted and called a few friends. Friends came. We searched around the room together, all possible places to hide people we have searched, but found nothing. After comforting me, my friends left, and I sat down alone on the sofa to take a break, when suddenly, the feeling that we were being watched came over me once again. I could feel it clearly. There was a pair of eyes on my body, prismatic patrol, like a snake, cold, eager, greedy crawl through every part of my body. I shrieked and jumped up wildly. There really was a sinister gaze that was quietly peering at me, a gaze that was wicked, unbecoming, and full of filthy and unclean lust. And the peeping eyes were coming from above the balcony, and there must be someone hiding on the balcony. I went out to the balcony once again to look, but there was no sign of anyone coming in, except for the potted plant that someone had sent me, which was growing vigorously and prosperously because it had received sufficient sunlight and water, with long stems and leaves reaching from the balcony into the living room, giving it a chilly and comfortable feeling. This potted plant is really strange. I remember a friend once said after looking at it, the vine actually extended to the room without sunlight, which is against the principle of plant phototropism. The feeling of being spied on was getting stronger and stronger, and I didn't dare to change my clothes in the room, or go into the bathroom alone, or even close my eyes to rest. In my dream, I seemed to see a pair of cold eyes, crawling along the wall like a disgusting ruler earwig, crawling onto my body and crawling up my collar. I shrieked and was startled out of my sleep. When I opened my eyes, I actually did see a pair of eyes flashing rapidly away, these evil eyes, literally from above the balcony. I rushed angrily to the balcony. Still no one was in sight, only the pot with a few tossing vines. But I clearly saw a pair of eyes. How can but cannot find people? The shameful peeper is hiding somewhere. I stayed in the living room and sat down again, closing my eyes slightly and pretending to sleep. But not long after, the feeling of being spied on came back, this time much stronger than any other time, and I could even feel the eyes creeping towards me like a ruler earwig. I opened my eyes, only to see a vine stretched to midair suddenly hanging down, the pair of terrible peeping eyes, but from the vine above. I rushed over and stood in front of that vine for a long time. It was clearly a vine, and there was no difference between any of the vines. But I stubbornly stared at it, unblinking eyes on it. Finally, I saw a stem and leaves quietly turn over, like a pair of human eyelids slowly open a pair of strange eyes growing on the vine stems and leaves. This pair of strange eyes scared me to scream. The pair of strange eyes also clearly in the four eyes with me when I felt the panic, hastily closed again, and then turned to the side. Just like the voyeur in the people see when done, this pair of eyes actually want to pretend as if nothing happened. This pair of eyes, with two green eyelids. Eyelids are also growing on the particularly ugly eyelashes. When it is closed and green vines mixed into one, there is no way to detect. But when these eyes open, you can see that set of sinister, treacherous, evil and mischief in one of the gaze. The most uncomfortable is that the eyes revealed in the eyes is so muddy, dirty, like a bucket of sewage or a gutter full of dirty garbage. How can there be a pair of human eyes growing on the vine? I opened my mouth wide in amazement and watched this bizarre scene. The pair of strange eyes growing on the vine dodged and dodged, not daring to make contact with my gaze. Suddenly I did not know where to get the courage to turn around and run quickly to the living room, picking up a pair of scissors and rushed up to the balcony. The strange vine was twisting and turning during the time I was away, and the branches were making a rustling sound as it tried to get outside the window to hide. I rushed forward, whipped up my scissors, and snapped the vine with a click. The vine fell to the ground, first crackling like a cut gecko tail bar, and then like a snake crawled sharply outward. Seeing a green vine crawling on the ground, I felt creeped out, and the scissors in my hand almost fell to the ground. Suddenly, the vine that had escaped to the corner of the balcony turned its head and gave me a look with its two sinister green eyes. Angry at the vile peeping eyes, I forgot my fear and stepped forward, caught up with the fleeing vine, and thrust the tip of the scissors in my hand hard at the peeping eyes. With a giggle, the crystal body of the eye burst, and I seemed to hear a mournful howl resounding from somewhere far away. I don't doubt for a moment that the hospital emergency room must have admitted a man with a sharp stab wound in his eye that day. I pulled out the evil potted plant, chopped it up with a knife, burned it to ashes, and then poured the ashes down the toilet and flushed it away, finally feeling a sense of relief in my heart. I thought this weird and strange thing was finally over and done with. However, although the eyes were blown out by me, the evil plant was not completely eradicated as I thought it would be, and terrible things continued to happen. I had just eliminated all the weird vines and thrown them into the trash along with the soil and the potted plant when the little pigeon suddenly came running in with a huff. As her name suggests, Pigeon is small, lively and active, with two big eyes, and when she gets upset, she gets angry like a little pigeon. One time, when little Pigeon came to our house, he brought a new boyfriend he had met, named Judai, a seemingly loyal and meek person, but his hands and feet were not too clean. We hinted at the unreliability of Judai to Pigeon, but Pigeon didn't think so. The reason is that Judai is obedient to her, like a big dumb dog in training to follow her, beckoned to come, called full of bitter face refused to leave, very satisfied with the vanity of a young girl of this age like little Pigeon. This day, the little Pigeon, because of a little thing, just a fight with Jowdy, do not want to see him again, so they came to me. I symbolically persuaded the little Pigeon a few words, do not want to say more. For one thing, just happened to grow green eyes vine strange things. I am not in the mood. Secondly, I really do not like this person Judai. Worry about the little Pigeon and he has been together for a long time. Will be badly affected. Come to my home. The little Pigeon immediately regained a happy nature. The two of us simply made dinner, after eating and sitting on the sofa while chatting and watching TV. I told the little Pigeon about the evil potted plant. The little Pigeon listened to the eyes open so wide, she did not wait for me to finish and ran to the balcony. Of course, nothing to see. This time little Dove was really upset and pouted and complained that I didn't leave the potted plant for her to see. In the mind of a girl her age, there is really nothing that can be taken seriously, and she didn't think about how terrible the evil potted plant was, and actually took it as a happy thing. Before going to bed, I was spreading the bed. The little Dove was alone in the bathroom bath, and suddenly she let out a scream that made her miserable. Help! Help! Help me! I was so shocked that I didn't even bother to put on my shoes and jumped off the floor and dashed over to the bathroom. When I rushed into the bathroom, I imagined in my mind that the vines that had turned to ashes were crawling out of the sewer pipes and wrapping themselves around Dove's snow-white neck in a terrible way. But when I rushed into the bathroom, I saw the little Dove as a person making faces at the wall mirror. See my face full of panic rushed in. She fell on the toilet with laughter, laughing so much tears flowed out. I was so angry with this naughty little girl that I couldn't laugh or cry. I hated her and twisted her arm a few times, but I didn't dare to twist it too hard. The false alarm. We went back to the bedroom to prepare for rest. After turning off the lights, the little Pigeon seems to be really tired. Not a moment's work snoring. I laugh in my heart at the little girl in the end as a little girl. Crazy up with a female crazy like. Fall down when said to fall asleep. The heart thought, dazed into a semi-awake state. In my deeper and deeper sleep state, I was suddenly awakened by something. There is a thin, cold something creeping in the darkness and suddenly wrapped around my neck. I opened my eyes with a jerk, but the cold, long, thin thing had scurried up my body, and I let out a sharp, high-pitched scream as my soul flew away. With a snap, the room was lit up, and the little Dove, holding a plastic tube she had found somewhere in her hands, stood barefoot in front of the switch in the doorway, laughing so hard she could hardly breathe. Damn you! I jumped out of bed in a fury and lunged at her. The little pigeon laughed desperately, swelling to a painful red, and before I rushed past, flew open the door to the room and fled into the living room. I closed the bedroom door with a bang and locked the little dove outside. Naughty thing, next time I'll never keep you here again. A terrified scream rang out in the living room, clattering as if she had knocked over the coffee table, and I scolded angrily. You dead girl, are you finished or not? Sister Tan, help me. Little Pigeon's voice, full of horror, rang out clearly from the living room. Something is entangling me. Help. My heart suddenly lifted up. Her scream and cry for help was so real. It could not be any joke. There was really something in the living room. That thing had entangled her. I recklessly opened the door, through the bedroom to the living room light. Take a closer look. Immediately scared hair stood up. The heart and guts split. There is a spider web like a fine vine. Is also like a spider web will be wrapped in the middle of the little pigeon. Things are clear. The little pigeon in the plastic tube wrapped around my neck scared me after fleeing into the living room. She entered the living room. She was a clump of things entangled. Could it be that the vine, which had been burned to ashes, was really able to come back to life again in the drainage pipe?